Good evening, folks. Good evening. So, back with another trade breakdown. It's actually been quite a while um, since I've actually uploaded a video, and that's just solely based on the fact that I haven't really been trading. Um, just looking at price, like it's been in the like shittest range for going on almost like 3 to 4 weeks, almost a month. So, this trade I'm going to break down is actually a trade from the 2nd of September. So, um, I believe throughout the month of August, um, I only traded, I took 8 trades, and this was actually my first trade of September of the month. I'm only getting around to doing it now just because a few issues with the mic, and then yeah, just finding time to do the trade breakdown. I've already sort of reviewed the trade and stuff, but just for a consistent basis, I'm going to get this video uploaded. So, um, anytime I was coming to the charts, you know, for the session, we were always trading within this daily no trade range. This is based off of a resistance on the left here on the daily time frame. Here, as we can see, it's a mess. So I don't want to be trading within it. Certainly don't want to be trading below it. And when I came to the charts on the specific day on the 7th, or sorry, on the 2nd, this is how price is looking. So, we've got 3 out of 4 bullish candles. We are leaving this daily zone. My thought process behind this was, well, if we start to pull back, this is going to be a clear target. I'm not really worried about this. I'm not worried about this. I'm not worried about this or anything like this. I'm solely focusing on this. And basically, if we start to pull back and form a support, then there's going to be a clear target. I'm not going to play any sort of continuation trades on this. It's solely just trade the target, trade the target. So if I just skip to the 1 hour, it's a nice close outside from 5 to 6. We're sort of leaving this range, and we're pushing up. So I'm just going to go to the 30-minute time frame. The most recent support and resistance um, on during the Asian session is within this range anyway, so it's not really going to be a huge factor to me because essentially I'm not going to be using this to trade. I'm not going to be trading in here. So it's kind of irrelevant for me in that sense. But if I just give me 1 sec, um, if I just skip the 30-minute time frame, and I'm kind of just going to play the session and my opportunity. So this is basically when price formed its support, which was at 8 o'clock. Um, so this candle closed, formed a support. This candle for me formed a support at 7. However, it's not really a strong support. And it's not really a type of candle that interests me to take a buy on. One thing I did make a little note of as well is, let me actually just mark this up, was the most recent resistance on the 4 hour prior to this breakout, which was basically in here. So I had this zone drawn up, and that, let me just pull that up a wee bit to fill that wick. So that's what I had there drawn. And if I skip to the 30-minute time frame, what I quite liked about this was price had pulled back into this 4 hour resistance zone and rejected that zone. It's also pulled back into the previous 30-minute support and resistance, or range, you could say, before leaving the zone. So this is when I was interested in taking a trade. Now, my target was basically the hourly resistance here. Now, one thing I was paying attention to was this support. And I was looking at this on the 5-minute time frame. Basically, what I had marked up was this little zone in here. I believe I marked up this basically resistance, right? And I wasn't looking at this as an area to, pay great attention to in terms of like using it for stop placement or anything like that. What I was paying attention to was I just wanted to be above the support, because I'm thinking to myself, well, if we're above this, there's a higher probability of, price pushing to the upside. Because this is a support, essentially this could just be um a pullback into here to potentially come down. Now, of course, the bias for the session is mixed. Yes, the most recent 4 hour is bullish, and we're up here, which has given us, you know, um, it's engulfed the previous 4 hours. So there's a higher probability of price going up based on those two candles. But essentially, the bias is still mixed. So this could be a potential pullback to come into the range because we've been raging in here for so long, and this is the first breakout. Um, so I was just cautious of this, and I was cautious that this candle and this candle reacted at this zone. So for me, from a comfortability standpoint, I wanted to be above this area. Um, so if I just go to the 30-minute time frame, and I'll just skip through one more candle, um, you can kind of see how slowly, just based off this candle or this time frame alone, this is, you could say, an easy trade, right? For example, you go above, you have your stops below the support, you trade to the target, right? You could even extend and look to fill the zone or the range, the resistance zone, right? Happy days. And it looks so simple on this time frame. And it actually is quite a simple trade. However, this trade actually worked out in a loss for me. So I actually lost this trade. So overall, I lost roughly around 0.9% on this trade. And I'll kind of explain how I done that. Um, what I actually done was, my plan was to get involved. So I had a plan to get involved. I had a plan to trade the target. But what I didn't have was, I didn't plan my exit. I didn't plan how could I, you know, get out of this trade if things start to go wrong. Okay, so that's one thing I didn't plan. And when things did start to go wrong on the lower time frames, or there was inconsistencies, that's when my emotions played a part, and that's where I acted on emotions, and that's where I closed partial positions, closed full positions, which is kind of something I don't do. Um, I like to go into trades and have a set entry, stop loss position, target, and I like to have a get out of jail clause. If price comes to here, I exit. If we break this, if we close below this, I get out. So I'm essentially losing less than I set out to lose, which is a win in itself. But on this specific day, I didn't plan for that. So I was actually, and how I actually got involved in this trade was, I wanted to be above the 30-minute support and also the 15-minute support, okay? Price opened and price pushed down, right? And you can kind of see how this candle is actually broken the previous low, but at the time of me entering this position, this low wasn't broken. So price opened and pushed down, respected the low, and then it flipped bullish. So what I actually done then was, I got involved in a trade and I put my stop loss below the current low, right? Which at the time maybe would have been around here. Um, Give me 1 second. So what I done was, stop loss was below here, and as the candle flipped, and I was actually targeting the resistance, right? Because essentially I knew where my entry was going to be, I knew where my target was going to be, and what I wanted to do with my stop loss is see where does it get me a 1-to-1, and it just happened to be that the 1-to-1 was below the current wick at the time, right? And my thought process was, well, if we have opened and we've reacted at the support and pushed down, and we're going to fail to create a resistance, like a lower resistance, and we're going to break the high and break above the support, then there's a good chance that we can continue. But the candle's still open, so there's still every chance the price can come back down because the candle hasn't closed yet. So I was naive in that aspect and thinking that, well, this is the downside already finished. Once we break and we push, that's going to be where we're going to get the upside, right? So at that time, I was looking at this on the 5 minute time frame, and this candle here, this candle here, this bullish one, you can kind of see what the way it worked out was we pushed down, we then flipped bullish, broke above where I wanted to get involved. I got involved, price pushed up about 3 pips in profit, and I was thinking to myself, happy days, this is maybe where we're going to start to continue. Excuse me. And then what happened was his price actually came back down. So as we started to break below, I closed 50%. And then as price pushed down, it was roughly around here. I just closed the full position, right? So it was kind of like at that time I was managing on emotion. I was using lower time frames, which I don't have a lot of experience in. So I shouldn't have been, using this time frame to manage a position. And at the end of the day, I didn't have a clear plan on how I was going to manage. So, you can kind of, see there that it probably could have only ended worse. If I had have just entered the trade, went downstairs or wherever and just closed the charts, didn't look at the chart, it would have worked out brilliant. And it would have been a winning trade. And I would have been saying that was great, well done. But at the end of the day, I didn't have a plan to begin with. So even if the trade did work out, it wouldn't have been a good trade because I didn't plan how I was going to get out, which then led to me managing on emotion and took a losing trade when I didn't need to. Um, so when I actually closed that position, price started to re-break again on the new candle. So I took a second position and price started to break down again. And I said to myself, that wasn't my plan to enter the second position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close. So I closed the second position. Combining those two, it was roughly around a percent loss, 0.9 roughly in around that region. So that was my trade, and that was a sort of outcome. And basically reflecting on this trade, the stop loss was in the incorrect place. It should have been below the 30-minute support, right? Because if I had my stop loss below the support, I could target the resistance. And because the resistance is only, from my entry, eight pips or so, and it's only like 0.5%, it probably isn't worth my while just targeting that. This would more so be a trade to see if I can get into a profitable position and potentially ride the volume, bullish. So in having my stop loss below the 30-minute support, if the current low at the time was roughly around here and we start to break up, if price starts to break back down and re-break its own low, then I can exit that trade and I can lose less than I set out to lose, because essentially at that time the 15-minute time frame would have been pushing up and it would have just looked like a rejection from the support, and if price pushed down, rebroke the low and so on, it wouldn't have looked good from that point of view. But essentially, because my stop loss was in the incorrect position and I was sort of putting it in a bit of in no man's land, really, there was no real structure. I sort of fucked myself. So, reflecting on the trade, the stop loss was in the incorrect place. Um, it should have been below the 30-minute support. There was also a few other things to note, which was at this time there was no 1 hour support. At the time of taking this trade, we were trading the first 30 minutes of this candle here. So we're trading into two bullish candles, or two bearish candles, I should say. So the only real support that we have at that time, or I have at that time, is on the 15-minute time frame. We have a support, we have a confirmation of the support. You go to the 30-minute time frame. this candle forms a support, but is this a strong support? Not really, because it's closed within the previous bearish candle, and there's no guarantee that we're just going to go up based off of that. It hasn't closed above or anything like that, which would be a stronger confirmation. Um, and so again, you've got 15-minute support only, which is a weak support, which is a weak support anyway, which is built a weak 30-minute support. You also have no 1 hour support. Um, so by having my stop loss in the incorrect position, I could have just used the current candle low, to be my get out of jail clause if price re-breaks that low. So at the end of the day, reflecting on this, basically just the stop loss positioning was just incorrect to begin with. Um, shouldn't have been below the low. It should have been below the support, below the structure. And then I wouldn't have had really any issues with this trade. I still could have remained in the trade. Um, and if I just mark up as well, that current 15-minute low, which was the previous 15-minute before I entered, if we look at this on the lower time frames, I can see that this low is also a 5-minute support. So if I'm using the previous candle low as my get out of jail card, if price starts to break the previous low and my stop loss is down here, I could say to myself, I could maybe look for a lower time frame candle. And this was something I discussed with my mentor at the weekend. And you know, it's very good in hindsight, but it's so accurate when you're looking at this in real time, in terms of like how precise you can be managing the position. And this was brilliant when he was breaking this down to me, because what is this? This is a 15-minute low, which is also the 5-minute support. So we can kind of see how this 5-minute support is holding structure across the board. If I have my stop loss down here and I'm looking at this, I could say, well, do you know what? Even if we break the low, I'm going to wait for maybe a 5-minute candle to close below the support. If a 5-minute candle closes below the support, I exit the trade. Or if a 1-minute candle breaks, closes below, I can exit the trade. No 5-minute candle closed below here. Looking at this on the 1 minute as well, no 1-minute candle even closed below here. So, it was very interesting to see how this low and that 5-minute support acted as basically the support for continuation once we got the break above. So there was a lot to take away from this trade. But I just thought I would get this one uploaded because this was my first trade of the month, which was a loss. And I also took a trade today, which is the 6th, which was a winning trade, which I will, break down and get that one uploaded as well. But yeah, first trade of the month, first loss. But plenty more days in the month to get back on track. So thanks very much for watching.